Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this afternoon, Indicom probes accidental shooting of Trinee cop. The Independent Commission of Investigations and the Police High Command are probing the reported accidental shooting of a Trinee constable on Saturday. The incident took place while at a training exercise in Yallah's St. Thomas. Reports are that about 1:30 p.m., the constable was shot by another trainee who was attempting to clean his Glock pistol. The firearm allegedly went off, resulting in the constable being shot in the back. The injured trainee, attached to the National Police College, was rushed to the hospital where he is being treated. His injuries are not considered life-threatening. Rape accused killed at his pre-birthday party. A man who was wanted by the police for allegedly raping a teenager on her birthday 3 years ago was shot and killed at his pre-birthday party in Truro District, Westmoreland on Friday night. Leon Anglin, 33, also known as Rusty, and the Chin, a resident of Truro, was slated to celebrate his 34th birthday tomorrow, but had decided to host a pre-birthday event. Anglin and his friends were reportedly having a good time when two men rode up on a motorcycle. One of the men reportedly alighted from the motorcycle and began walking in the direction of Anglin. The man suddenly pulled a firearm from his waistband and opened fire, hitting Anglin and another man multiple times. The shooter then jumped back onto the motorcycle, which sped away. A police team which responded to the shooting transported the two injured men to the hospital where Anglin was pronounced dead. The other man was admitted in serious condition. In the October 2021 incident in which Anglin was implicated, a female student was reportedly on her way home from a surprise birthday party which her friends had staged for her. She was allegedly accosted by Anglin, who tried to coax her into having sex with him, but she refused. He reportedly dragged her behind a building and raped her. The matter was reported to the police, but before Anglin could be caught, the teenager, who was badly traumatized by the incident, was removed from the community by her family. She was later sent overseas, where she is said to be completing her education. CCRP expresses outrage at the murder of elderly, calls for greater protection. The Caribbean community of retired persons is reacting with shock and outrage at last week's murder of an 80-year-old woman in St. Anne and is demanding greater protection for the elderly, even as investigators struggle to solve the case. The body of 80-year-old Sylvia Barrett of Spring Garden Bamboo in St. Anne was discovered in her burnt-out house with hands and feet tied. On Sunday, head of the St. Anne Police Senior Superintendent Dwight Powell told the news that investigations were ongoing and that there was no additional information to report at this time. In a release on Sunday, the CCRP urged action by government and other stakeholders to protect senior citizens. Such acts of cruelty against our senior citizens are becoming all too frequent, and we therefore urge immediate concerted action by the government, communities, families, churches, and concerned citizens to protect these vulnerable members of society, the CCRP urged. Towards this, the CCRP has put forward a 5-point plan to address the situation and has stated its readiness to collaborate with stakeholders to implement them. The plans include the identification of elderly folks in neighborhoods and regular visits to them, and emergency preparedness training that would include the Jamaica Fire Brigade. The suggested measures are: Neighborhood Watch and community organizations identify the elderly and disabled persons in their geographical area, be it a housing scheme, district, lane or apartment townhouse complex. This information can be used to arrange for regular visits by members of the community organization to check on the welfare and the safety of senior citizens. The information could also be shared with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Poor Relief Department, and the Jamaica Fire Brigade, so that specific programs can be arranged for their protection. Community-based fire safety workshops conducted by the JFB for Neighborhood Watch, religious and civic associations to educate elderly individuals and their caregivers on preventative measures and emergency response strategies. These community organizations should take the initiative of inviting the JFB to stage these workshops. Accessible fire safety resources. We commend the JFB for producing brochures in Braille so that individuals who are blind will get that information of what to do to prevent fires and what to do in the event of fires. We also recommend that accessible formats that can be viewed or heard from their telephones and radios be also provided for the most vulnerable. The JFB and the community organizations should more closely collaborate in identifying homes where the elderly reside so there can be regular safety inspections, focusing on the unique needs of elderly residents and provide recommendations for improvement. Emergency preparedness training. Community-based organizations should invite and facilitate the JFB to conduct emergency preparedness training sessions specifically tailored for the elderly, emphasizing evacuation plans, safe exits, and communication strategies during emergencies. The CCRP stands ready to collaborate with the local authorities, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Jamaica Fire Brigade, and the community organizations to implement these recommendations and promote a safer living environment for our elderly population, the organization stated. Government and attorneys wrangle over how motorists should collect $2 billion of illegally imposed fines, court to decide on compensation regime in September. Motorists who for over 15 years paid traffic ticket fines that were illegally imposed should be required to show proof in order to collect a court-ordered refund, attorneys for the government have proposed. However, lawyers for the motorists whose lawsuit uncovered the legislative blunder made in 2006 and which triggered the refund order have shut down the suggestion, cautioning that such a restriction would unfairly exclude eligible motorists. Jamaica's Constitutional Court ordered the refund in a landmark ruling in January and directed both sides to submit proposal outlining a mechanism for the rebate, which is expected to cost the taxpayers over $2 billion. The court is expected to hand down a decision on the refund regime on September 23. Under the proposal filed in court on April 26 by the Director of State Proceedings, motorists eligible for a refund would need to provide the Tax Administration Jamaica with the traffic ticket that was issued, a receipt showing that the fine was paid, as well as their banking information. They would have a one-year window to claim their refund, the government also proposed. On approval, the money constituting the excess that was unlawfully charged will be sent to the aggrieved person's bank account, the Director of State Proceedings explained in court documents obtained by the news. The refund was ordered by the Constitutional Court in January at the end of the lawsuit, filed by software engineer Maurice Housen, challenging a $5,000 ticket he was issued by cops in July 2021 for a speeding violation. The $5,000 fine was 6 times more than the $800 stipulated for a speeding violation in the 1938 Road Traffic Act, the legislation that was in effect at the time. The 1938 RTA has since been replaced by new legislation. Housen's attorneys Gavin Goff, Jamar Clark, and Matthew Royal from the law firm Myers, Fletcher & Gordon took issue with the government's proposal for the refund, arguing that such a restriction would unfairly limit execution of the court order to some eligible motorists. This limitation is unnecessary considering that there is no evidence before the court that the state is not possessed of all the necessary records to give effect to the court's orders, they said in legal arguments filed in court. Proof of payment inherently serves as evidence that a ticket was issued, hence requiring proof of both the ticket and the receipt is redundant. Cops issued a total of 4,779,473 traffic tickets, with fines totaling $5.7 billion. In 14 of the 15 years the illegally imposed fines were on the books, the news reported in February, citing a review of official figures published in the Economic and Social Survey of Jamaica. The data for 1 year was unavailable. A total of $2.18 billion in fines was paid to the government through TAJ, and before that, the Inland Revenue Service, to settle 1.6 million tickets issued in 6 of the 15 years, according to the ESSG data. There was no data on the total number of traffic tickets issued and the fines are collected by tax authorities in each of the remaining years.